Hello everyone and welcome to episode 20 of Real Reflective Practice. I am your host, Dr. Anjali Pereira, aka the Disillusioned Medic. And as always, this live stream is about having the meaningful and open conversations that we doctors don't even realize we crave. I hope you're all well. The weather's turned a little bit since my broadcast last, I know, and the evenings are drawing in and, there's that smell of autumn in the air. I also know the COVID situation isn't really looking great at the moment, so I just hope that you guys can find a little bit of coziness and warmth and comfort in this little reflective space that we have, and I hope you're all keeping well as well. If you're watching from Facebook, please hit that like button. If you're watching from YouTube, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and join the community, because if you do that, any new videos that I release will come up in your newsfeed. And I love to receive all your comments, your questions, your reflections as well. So please use the chat function if you're watching live, or if you're catching up later, then write me something in the comments section below. Our theme this week is variety, and discussing it with me will be Dr. Patrice Baptiste, who is a portfolio GP, a medical educator, a writer, and also the founder of DreamSmartTutors. We'll be talking, amongst other things, about why some people need variety in their careers, whether we think there's a variety deficiency in the traditional pathways of medicine, and also how doctors can create a more diversified and varied career for themselves. Now, I know I usually kick off the show, and I'll do the message bit later, so stick around for that. So let's crack on straight away with our theme discussion this time, which is variety, as I mentioned. And my story tonight is really about when I started to think about this theme of variety. I think I really seriously began to think about it when I met my former boss and now good friend, Chris Hafner, who has also been on Real Reflective Practice before. He's been on, it was a while ago actually, but it was the leadership episode. So that was a good episode. Do watch if you're interested. So up to that point, I had always had this niggling little fear that I was a rather flaky person, a jack of all trades, if you will, and a master of none. I had been an all-rounder at school. I'd found picking my GCSEs and then my A-levels really, really difficult because there were so many subjects I wanted to study and, I was interested in everything. I filled my free time with loads of different pursuits, sports and drama and music, and even at medical school, I exhausted myself trying to make time for all of those kinds of things as well. But of course, clinical placements and exams, and then actually working as a doctor once I qualified, got in the way of all of those hobbies. And I really couldn't find the time for that. And I remember feeling profoundly bored. And it was a weird mix of boredom and anxiety because the pressure was always on. It was always intense, but I rarely felt stimulated by it. And then when I left medicine, my inability to commit to anything only got worse. I was constantly dipping and diving into various different things and trying new ventures and failing and experimenting and adapting. And I really had no solid idea still of my direction. My career felt like a bit of a mess, if I'm honest, and consequently, I felt like a mess. Maybe I was just a flake. Maybe I was just a non-committal type of person who couldn't dedicate herself to anything. But then one day I expressed all of this angst to Chris Hafner, and he immediately said, "Oh, you're a multi-potentialite, just like me." Now, I'd never heard of this term at the time, so what the hell was a multi-potentialite? And he basically told me it's someone who has multiple interests in several different areas, as well as the ability to do well in those areas as well. And Chris said to me, it's something that smart and curious people oftentimes experience. Your intellect needs to be constantly challenged. Otherwise, you get bored. You need to make sure that you're making the time and the space to challenge yourself and to give yourself the opportunities to do that. And suddenly, in that moment, this whole aspect of my life made sense. I'm a multi-potentialite, and that is a strength, not a weakness. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this theme of variety this evening. And to do it with me, as I mentioned, I have the amazing Dr. Patrice Baptiste. Patrice knows a thing or two about variety. As well as her clinical work as a GP, she is also a writer, a medical educator, and the founder of her very own company, DreamSmartTutors. And I am really, really excited to have her on the show tonight. Patrice, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having
me. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Looking forward to the show.
Good. Me too. I'd love to just start, Patrice, if I may, by asking you a little bit about your background, your career story, and it would also be great to clarify something that a lot of people ask me. What exactly is a portfolio GP?
I knew that was coming. Start with my background, and then I can get into your portfolio GP. So where should I start, really? So for me, I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor. Ever since I was about 4 or 5, it was just a profession that I was drawn to for so many different reasons. And as I got older, the passion just grew stronger.
Oh, Patrice. Oh, I seem to have lost her. Bear with me. Oh, I'm very sorry, guys. I am having a few technical difficulties. Oh, we've lost Patrice. Okay. I'm sure she will be back. I hope she will be back in a second. But while we're waiting, there's actually an announcement that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I was on air a couple of weeks back with the wonderful Dr. Sam Anthony. If you remember, we talked about the theme of respite, and she was so amazing. She had so many insights about the Permitted to Pause campaign that she began, and she's just a wonderful person to talk to, and it was a great conversation. And it was amazing. After the show, she sent me in the post this incredible care package, which was so sweet. So I would just like to show you this care package, this box that it came in. So this is what came in the post. It's got the Permitted to Pause logo on it, and inside was just this collection of amazing things. So I've got a few bits of it to show you. These little sweets in this cute little jar. These chill pills, breath mints, which are very cool. Some stationery stuff, this notepad and this cool syringe pen, and a highlighter that looked like a pill. There's also a duck that had a kind of doctor outfit on, which I currently, it's in the bath. My daughter is currently enjoying that duck in the bath, so that's why I can't show it to you this evening. But it was amazing. It was just so lovely to receive it. It's such a nice little boost to my day, and the reason I wanted to share it with you guys is because Sam is actually selling these care packages on her website. She has a little Etsy store, and so she can post these out to you, and all of the proceeds go to Doctors in Distress, which is a charity that serves doctors who are struggling with mental health and suicidal ideation. So really worthy cause. So if you know someone who just needs a little pick-me-up, or perhaps even a Christmas present, dare I say the word, if you're thinking about that, then that might be a really nice little something to think about. So I think we have Patrice back, so I'm going to add her back onto the stream. Hiya.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen again.
It's the nature of life.
Yes, I know. But yes, where was I? So I'll just kind of get back into it, really. So yes, so my passion grew, and I applied to medical school. I went to a comprehensive school, so I didn't have a lot of opportunities. Although the school wasn't that bad, I did have some support, and I had a really supportive family. So anyway, I got into UCL, which was a dream come true, and I completed my medical degree. I did an integrated BSc as well, and then I started working as a doctor. So of course I was on the wards, and I met doctors and I seen what they do, but it's not quite the same until you start working as a doctor. So there were a lot of things that I I felt like I wasn't really prepared for. I felt like I was just thrown into the deep end. Now many juniors are, and many do fine and go on to have amazing careers in medicine, but for me there were just things that I felt it just didn't sit right with me. And then towards the end of my second year, I felt really tired, really burnt out, really low in mood. And I kind of attributed it to just the surroundings and the environment and working in this system that was so under pressure and basically falling down around me. So I knew I was going to take a year out anyway. And it was during that time that I just really questioned my decision to study medicine and become a doctor. I really thought, well, actually, maybe I might leave and try something else. And I did look into a number of other careers, such as medical writing, even Botox,
Mm-hmm. Oh, we've lost her again. Oh. Patrice, are you there? No, I think she has gone again. Oh, that's a shame. Well, this is the nature of live stream, guys. I'm going to have to edit this later, I think. Yeah, so I guess we'll just wait until Patrice comes back. Oh, there she is. There she is. There we go.
I'm really sorry about this. This is unusual, to say the least. Maybe it's the weather. I don't know. Okay, so where was I? So yes, really quickly, I want to keep it short now. So anyway, I realized that actually the doubts I was having weren't really kind of about me in a sense. It was more that it was the system, and I felt that it was this system that I had to kind of navigate if I wanted to go back and do medicine. So I realized I didn't want to do medicine. I still wanted to be a doctor, but how do I kind of navigate this system that I wasn't too kind of keen on working in? And I wanted to complete my training. So anyway, I looked up a few specialties and I found general practice, and I found that it was a career that suited my personality. It allowed me, I felt it would allow me to have career autonomy and just have a bit more work-life balance, really, and flexibility. And also I saw that there were loads of different opportunities in general practice. I could, do things on the side. I could do teaching, which I really enjoyed in general practice and outside of it. And so I decided, to do general practice. And then I also kind of revisited a few things that I had neglected towards the end of medical school and working as a doctor, like writing poetry, just writing articles. I was really interested in opinion pieces and just things I would see. I would start writing, speaking, volunteering, business. And then that's really how my portfolio career started. I decided to hang on to these passions and I was so determined not to kind of let them fall by the wayside this time. And that's really how my portfolio career started. I just submitted articles and then I started writing for GP Online regularly. And this year, Blue Stream Academy, which is a training platform for GPs, asked me to write for them. I've been asked to speak at loads of different places. So yeah, it's just kind of developed as time has gone on, really. Well, here's a bit of a mess. I don't know what I was doing in the background. But yeah, so that's how my I would say portfolio career started. It's really just all the things that I like to do. I don't work full time in general practice. I work 5 sessions, just 2.5 days, and then I do everything else around general practice. I think that the thing I want to
portfolio career basically just means that you work as a GP, but you also have multiple other income streams and jobs as well.
Exactly. I mean, I know people use the term portfolio GP, which I do use, but I would probably say portfolio career fits better than a portfolio GP. I think people interpret it in different ways. But I would say portfolio career is probably what I aspire to have.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I mean, I can see why this theme of variety is important to you, just talking about the number of things that you do, but it would be great to kind of understand why you picked this theme to talk about tonight.
Because I think it's so important, really. I think often as medics, we we see medicine. So before we even get into medical school, we're so obsessed by the thought of becoming a doctor. And then as time goes on, we kind of just get even more narrow-minded and focused on publications and being the best and this specialty and that specialty. And not everyone, but and I think it is changing. But then I think a lot of people do kind of just get a bit lost, a bit kind of institutionalized, lost in this medical bubble. And then some people may become grumpy, may lose their way, may lose themselves. And I think it's really important, not just medicine, but any profession, especially high pressured environments, high pressured jobs, that you do have variety. I think for me, I can't speak for anyone else, but I know that even if we take away being a doctor and medicine, if I was to do writing full time, I don't think I would enjoy it. So for me, doing a number of different things enables me to stay refreshed, rejuvenated, interested. It keeps my interest in a particular career or particular interest. So for me, I think variety is important because and also, so all of that, but also you can develop a number of skills. I could talk forever. But you can really upskill. And like you were saying before, you can become really good at so many different things. I think I was asked a question. I was doing a talk recently about what you said, you can have all these different areas, but you're not really a master of them. But actually, I would argue against that. I would say, actually, you can become really, really good at one particular thing and then another thing as well. So it doesn't have to be, you have to put all your time and effort into one thing and become really, really good at it. You can do things simultaneously. And I think that's a lot of people kind of think that if you have a portfolio career, that actually you're kind of a bit mediocre or whatever it is. I mean, I'm happy to be mediocre. I think I'm a bit mediocre in loads of things. But you can be very successful in more than one career. So
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because I remember, one of the things that people told me when I went into medicine is that there is so much variety. That's what, at school, the kind of spiel, the narrative that I was given, that there are so many specialties, there are so many things you can learn. There's always new research, new discoveries happening in the field. There are fascinating people to meet, both professionally and as patients. And, whilst all this is true, what I found when I actually started practicing was this sense, as I mentioned, this sense of boredom. I wasn't feeling inspired. I wasn't feeling connected to the field in the way that I hoped I would. And I felt like as a junior, I was just doing the same monotonous tasks over and over and over. And I would feel so bad, looking around me and those of my peers and my seniors who seemed to so enjoy the job and, get so much out of it. And it was disappointing. It was really disappointing. And I was so ashamed to admit that, this great career, this great noble profession bored me. It was terrible to confess that. And, and contrast that to now, I feel like I'm constantly using, as you mentioned, different parts of me, different parts of my brain. I'm constantly moving between different tasks. So in fact, I'd probably say I've gone too far the other way in some ways. But I would love to know if any of those experiences resonate with you, and whether you think that perhaps some people need more variety in their careers than others.
Yeah, I think people definitely need variety. It doesn't really matter what you do. I think you do need it. I think, like I said, it helps you feel refreshed. And yeah, I think some people, especially a lot of medics that I've met anyway, are quite creative. Especially when you look at, like, if you go back to your personal statement and you see all the things you were doing, a lot of them are probably quite creative things. And I think for me anyway, I can't obviously speak for anyone else, but for me, I'm quite a creative person, and I would argue that I'm probably more creative than I am clinical or academic. Like with writing, like I was saying at a talk I did recently, I can write something very quickly. If we stick to like an opinion piece or an article I write for GP Online, whether that's 500, 600, let's say 900 words, I could probably write a decent, opinion-based article in an hour, maybe less than an hour, because it comes so naturally to me. And I guess because I've been doing it for so long as well, I've got this kind of, I've got template, but I've got this in my head now, and I can pretty much do it quite easily. So that comes with experience. But even before that, like I said, it wouldn't take me that long to write an article. But in terms of medicine, it would take me a long time sometimes to grasp, you know, difficult concepts that you look around and you see people getting it really quickly, and I'd always have to work really, really hard. But for creative stuff, I mean, it's really easy, you know. So I think you need variety. And I think even if, say, you're not even particularly creative, I think having something creative, it can only add to your life, add to your success, add to whatever it is you want. It just broadens your horizon. So yeah, I love variety. And like I said, I don't think I could be the doctor that I am today if I didn't have all the other things that I do alongside. Even with like YouTube, I've just started I started a few months ago now, my YouTube channel. And although it can be quite hard, a lot of hard work, and editing is not easy, it is very creative. And I do enjoy videos and, you know, talking to the camera and all of that. And that's very creative. And I think it helps me when I go back to work, or when I go and do my writing. Yeah, it just switches things up a little bit, and I feel like I can give more, versus, like you said, just being in the hospital or being in clinical practice and doing the same things over and over again. Because even in general practice, there is loads of variety, but sometimes you can have a clinic and you're seeing, you know, I don't know, urine infections, and that's like half your clinic, or back pain, or whatever it is. And after a while, you know, there's only so much you want to kind of see of the same thing. So yes, I think for me, I think it works very well, and I don't see why for other people it can't work. I think it's just about maybe just looking at things that you might be interested in and seeing how things could work for you, really, and just incorporating it. It doesn't have to take a lot of your time. You don't have to reduce, you don't have to work less than full time. You can still have a full-time job or whatever it is you're doing, but you can just spend an hour a week, I don't know, crocheting or something, you know, just looking at other things, you know.
Well, this is a very good point. I mean, I guess a good point to make is that variety is such a personal thing, right? You know, I'm sure there would be many people out there who would find, you know, my professional life now, the work that I do, extremely dull and uninspiring. I'm sure that's the case. And, you know, yes, it's not exciting every day. I do still have moments of boredom and feeling like I don't really want to do this. But, you know, for the most part, I do find my work very interesting. You know, it meets my personal intellectual needs in that way that I was talking about before. And in the same vein, I think there would be other people who would find my life perhaps too hectic, you know, because I have my day job, I have my business, I have, you know, motherhood. And I guess for some people that might be too much variety, way too much variety. So perhaps, I don't know, perhaps it's a case of looking at life and asking what you want from life, and what you personally need to be happy, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just about finding, you know, your fit, what fits you, what suits your personality. And I think even maybe going a little bit off topic, but it's still relevant. I think a lot of people think, even maybe more of the younger generation as well, that it might be changing. People think that once you pick a career, you just have to stay in that career. Who knows, in 10 years from now, I may say, well, actually, I don't want to do general practice, or I don't want to be a doctor anymore. And there's no problem with that. I know many people who have spent years in medicine and then decide, actually, medicine has had its run. You know, I've done everything I think I want to do in medicine, and now it's time to do something different, whether that's retraining to do law, or just doing something completely different. Maybe not even a profession like law, medicine, whatever, something completely different, something more creative. So I think everyone is different, and there's not a one size fits all approach. You just have to find your way, and it's a journey. And when I look back at when I took my year out, I wish that I spent more time just enjoying that year versus thinking, oh gosh, I'm losing time, you know, I have to like pick a career, I have to go back, I have to do this, I have to do that. I wish I just, you know, was in the moment. I wish I was in the present. And I think I spend a lot of my time consciously trying to do that. If I find my mind wandering, we're really going off topic, but if I find my mind wandering, I'm always like, come back, be in the present, whatever that may be, you know, what is surrounding me. Because I find sometimes that we're just always in the future in a lot of the things that we do. And I like to plan, it's good to plan, but I think sometimes we can get a bit carried away with being in the future too much and just forgetting, and even looking back on the past and all our achievements. I think sometimes we forget that we've done so much already, and that we're in a really good place, and that there are many people who might want to be in our shoes, in our position. And so I think we need to just consciously make that effort to just think about where we are. We're on a journey. We're not this, we're different people. My life is different to your life, and I think it's just just looking at yourself and just finding what will work for you, whether that's career or otherwise.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you hit on a very important point when you mentioned that, people, it's okay to have variety in your career, because I think perhaps one of the limitations within medicine is this idea that I come across so often that, the only reason why you would not be a full-time doctor and dedicate your life to it is because there's something wrong. So, you'd only go less than full-time if you had a chronic illness, or if you, became a parent and then, were juggling childcare and work and couldn't make that happen. And then this idea that, if you leave medicine, it's because you weren't good enough, or you weren't cut out for it, or that you're a lazy person who couldn't hack it.
Or if you choose general practice.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Easy job and took the easy route out. Yeah, all of that.
Exactly. So these attitudes, I think, really hold us back from variety, and this judgment that we automatically make that variety isn't something that you can aspire to as a doctor, because for some bizarre reason we need to dedicate our entire lives to it.
Yeah, no, I think we need to just have a different perspective, and it's just the way the environment is, it's the way society is, it's the way we've been trained to think. And I think we need to retrain our brains and be more open-minded.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do. I mean, I wanted to talk to you about this, whether the traditional pathways of medicine, hold us back from variety, whether there's a deficiency of variety in the current training pathways. And I really think there is, because I think for me, part of the difficulty is there is this huge pressure, right, to specialize early, to decide what you want to do. We know that the profession over the last couple of decades has become more and more super specialized. And so while the medical field itself is vast, is diverse, and has many different facets to it, as one individual doctor, you're only focusing on perhaps a small part of it at a time, right? And I think also the types of skills that you're expected to employ as a doctor, they're nearly always the same until you reach a slightly more senior level, at which point you might have more managerial responsibilities, for example, something like that. But as a junior, you've got your clinical and practical skills, you've got your time management, your prioritization skills, you've got your patient and team relationship skills, but beyond those things, you're not often challenged. I mean, since leaving medicine, I've picked up on so many skills like creativity, as you mentioned, and strategic thinking, leadership, team management, recruitment, organizational effectiveness. I mean, there's so many things that I've learned since I left. And I feel like in medicine, if you want to do something, it has to be in your spare time. You have to go less than full time. You have to take a year out, or it's an unpaid position, like the clinical entrepreneurship program, which of course does create a barrier for doctors who might financially be struggling, or might find it difficult to make a move like that in their life. So I just feel that the diversification of skills isn't really valued within medicine, when the main focus is on service provision rather than professional development, if that makes sense.
Oh, you've hit the nail on the head. It is about service provision. We're taught to be employees. We're not taught to really think for ourselves. We're just taught to do this job and that's it, which is very sad, because there are many talented people, forget creativity, but just very talented, highly skilled professionals in medicine, and like you said, their potential is probably not being met and being stifled. So it is sad. It is about service provision, which is why training sometimes isn't fun. I wish I could have enjoyed more of my training programs versus just saying, oh gosh, I'll be, at the end I'll be a GP. I wish that there was more time to have courses or have things that may not necessarily be medicine or medically related, but would help me in my role as a doctor. I think it goes back to also being the government, publicly funded. Like I said, we're taught to be employees, So I think unless things kind of change overall, it's probably going to stay that way. And like you said, you have to do things on your own. You have to then source people out who may not even be medics, to develop these other skills, and go to non-medical events and conferences and courses and do things in your own time, like upskill in other areas, whether that's leadership, business, whatever it is. Just going a bit off topic, on my YouTube channel, I'm going to do a series about finances for medics, because it's something, again, it's a skill that we're not taught. A lot of people don't even check their pay slip, or they just
That's
don't
so
even know.
true. That's so true. I'm so much more financially literate since leaving medicine. You're absolutely right.
When I started, no one taught me how to read a pay slip. I just took it. Sometimes I wouldn't even get my pay slip. I would just see I get paid roughly the same amount, and then that would be it. Okay. Medics, I think even medics who think that they're financially savvy are not financially savvy. I think, you have to do a lot of the work yourself, and I think it's just the nature of medicine, of the job in this country, and I think it should be changed, but unfortunately it probably won't be. It's the onus is on yourself, and if you're not happy, like you did, you change your career, or if you feel you're not happy with one aspect, try and change it in some way. There are ways you can tweak things. Like for me, I chose general practice for so many reasons, and one of those reasons, like I said, was career autonomy. I can do so many different things in general practice. I can go down to 1 day a week if I really wanted to. I can go up even more sessions. I can upskill and then do clinics in, I don't know, obs and gynae or something, or inserting coils and contraception, etc. So there's loads of things that I can do that interest me, and it allows me to have that control. I can work nights if I want to. I can work weekends. I can do all of that if I really want to. I can work for NHS 111, so there's so many. I have that control, and I just felt very frustrated in the hospital, because with the rota, you wouldn't get your rota. Again, we're going off topic here, but you want to get your rota, you can't plan your life, everyone's going here and everywhere, and you're just like, well, I don't have my rota yet, so I can't answer you, I can't tell you if I can come. It just sounds very pathetic, for, I don't know, 25, 30, and you still can't plan your life. So I think there are deep-rooted things in the NHS and the way it's structured and the people who are there and the managers, etc. We can talk about this forever, but I think there are a lot of deep-rooted things that probably won't change in the foreseeable or the near future. But I think if it did change, we'd be able to retain doctors like yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. They do make it very, very difficult to get that variety in your career, and it's such a shame. And I think in that vein, we're talking about the fact that there is an individual onus, an onus on the individual to do that. That there is a certain amount of extra effort that you have to make, and a process of learning that you have to go through in order to diversify. So I think it would be good here to talk about the benefits. Why go through all of that trouble to diversify and create variety in your career? What's the point? And I think for me personally, a huge part of the conversation about variety is about burnout. Because one of my favorite facts about burnout, which you kind of alluded to earlier, is the fact that you can get burnt out doing something you love. It's one of the reasons I'm really, really careful about how much time I dedicate to each of my pursuits, because I know I'm a workaholic. I know that about myself. I am prone to working too hard and too long. I love my coaching work so much that I would never want to start hating it. So I have to be really controlled about it. But having professional variety for me does help with this, because it means that I can't completely dedicate myself to one thing. It's just not possible. There is a forced break almost, because I have to move on to the next thing. And then in that process of changing the scenery, if you will, there is an opportunity for me to reassess, to reflect, to see how work is impacting me and whether I need to pull back a bit. So for me, that is one of the huge, huge benefits of having career variety in my life, and one of the ways that it enhances my life. So for you, what would you say the biggest advantages of variety would? Oh, we've lost her again. Oh, I'm sure she'll be back in a second. Yeah, I can keep talking. I can keep talking for ages. Yeah, so I mean, for me, one of the biggest things about having that variety in my life is giving myself that force break, as I mentioned, giving myself the chance to do something else, and then in doing that other thing, it's almost like when you go away on holiday somewhere, or when you take a trip somewhere, the new, being in a new place, having that new scenery around you, it changes your brain somehow. It gets you thinking in a different way. So for me, that's what variety brings to my career. And I think we've got Patrice back now. So.
We were doing so well.
We were doing so well. So Patrice, what does variety bring to you in your life?
Yeah, I think you summed it up really well, actually. Like I was saying at the start, it enables me to stay refreshed. Like I said, if I was to do writing, that's why I turned down the job. I was offered a job at the medical communications company to be like a junior writer or associate medical writer. I can't remember what it was, but it was an entry-level position. And I really thought about it, but I just didn't see myself, working and writing full time. I would have left again. So for me, it works really well that I can dedicate a portion of my week or month to writing for GP Online, for Bluestream Academy, for writing for whatever else other place I want to write for, or writing for my own blog or website or whatever it is. I think it also comes back to being bored. I get really bored quite easily, whether that's a sign of high intelligence, I don't know. But I get really bored, which is why I'm always on the go, like yourself. You say that your career, it's quite hectic, and I think there's just type of person, you thrive off of that, you enjoy that keeps you going, that keeps you motivated. And yeah, I think having variety and I think it's also about having the ability to have variety versus someone just telling you this is how it's going to be. I think there's something that comes from being able to set your own kind of standards, like being an entrepreneur. You can decide, it's very hard, but you can decide a lot of different things versus as an employee, there's a lot of things you can't also decide. So I think for me, it's also about having that control, having that flexibility, being refreshed, and just not getting burnt out, like you said, and not getting bored with one particular thing. So I think that's everything in a nutshell about variety. I couldn't see, and I didn't even know what a portfolio career was. Like many medics, and not just medics, many people don't know what a portfolio career is. It's not like a traditional career, it's multiple careers, isn't it? But I think if I'd have known about that earlier on, I probably wouldn't have had so much angst. I would have been much happier early on.
No, I absolutely agree with you.
Spread it around, tell everyone, have a portfolio career. It doesn't work for everyone, like we're saying, type of person. It has to suit you, which is why variety, I think it would work for many people. But for some people, they're happy, they want to stick with one particular thing. They want to be really, really good and really, really niche. That works for them. But for like us, our type of personalities, variety, creativity, all of that, it suits us. So it's just about finding your feet, really, I think, for any kind of career.
I mean, if there is a doctor out there who is resonating with this, but has really no idea where to even start in creating a more diversified career and creating more variety in their career, what would your advice to them be? How would they start off that process? Oh, can you hear me? Oh. Okay, well, until we're waiting for Patrice to come back, I have some thoughts around the advice that I would give to someone who wants to create variety in their career. And I think the one thing that I would say is to challenge your limitations. One of the biggest things that I see as a coach is that we're so disempowered as doctors to design our own careers. There's this idea that, as I mentioned, you're only allowed to take a break in your training if something has gone wrong. This idea that, you're only allowed to go part-time for certain reasons, or that changing your training pathway or you're going into a different specialty somehow means that there is inherently something wrong with you. I personally would argue that part-time work in medicine should be the norm and not the exception, because A, it is such a demanding job. And B, I think a lot of medics would hugely welcome more variety in their careers and more stimulation, and that, you know, their well-being would hugely benefit from that. So my piece of advice for someone who's looking for career variety is, yeah, to start with challenging those perceptions within yourself. And we've got Patrice back, so hopefully she can give us some advice now as well.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so even just outside of this, like even if you're trying to choose a career, so say as an aspiring medic, I think you have to start with knowing who you are. And I think I was quite fortunate where I always knew the type of person that I was. I always knew my strengths, I always knew my limitations. Even if this is from like being a child, I always just knew, and I was quite fortunate, like I was fortunate when I knew what I wanted to do. So I would say, know who you are, know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. What do you want out of a career? What do you want out of life? What do you want? I mean, how do you see your typical working week? What are your goals for the next 5 years? You know, what do you want to achieve? I don't know, do you want to write a book? Do you want to, I don't know, be the best in whatever specialty it is? Just write things down as well and have a plan and just get to know yourself. Because when I took my year out, I relearned who I was, and I think I lost a bit of who I was when I started working as a doctor, because, you know, like you said, it's long hours, you're dedicating a lot, you're giving a lot of yourself, and as a giver, we need to be refilled. We need to also have someone give to us, and it can be quite draining emotionally, mentally, physically, and so I think, like you said, which I'm sure I've written an article about this, which is about part-time working. I think it should be the norm as well. And I think that way we would not have a lot of the staffing issues that we have. People think, oh, that doesn't really make sense. But it does, because even when I was locuming, people were doing, trainings were doing job shares, which can work. It can work really well. I think it's just about how you do it. So I'm all for part-time working, and I think it should be made more acceptable, and it shouldn't be something that's, oh, you know, why are you working part-time? Do you not want to do medicine? Do you not enjoy your job? I mean, why are you doing that? How can you be a really good doctor if you're part-time? You know, it's just all these things that people think and people say. It doesn't help things. And I think if we're going to look for longevity in our careers, for me anyway, I want to be a GP for a while yet. For me, the only way I can see doing that and not getting burnt out and staying a GP for a while is breaking it up and keeping myself, you know, rejuvenated, refreshed, and also writing, whatever else that I do. You know, I want to do it for a while. I enjoy it, and like you said, you know, you don't want to become burnt out. You don't want to hate it or not enjoy it anymore. So yeah, I think the way to do that is to embrace part-time working. I mean, there are kind of out of program training experience, or time out of program programs that you can do depending on your training or where you are in your training. So I think if people don't know about that, they should look into that, because even with general practice, when you're a GP, you can even take a career break, I think up to 2 years. After that, you have to obviously do a bit of retraining, etc. But there are things out there I think people just don't know as well. So yeah, do your research, know about yourself. Just take some time out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And I think we have lost you again, Patrice. But that was very, very good advice. And I think Patrice has covered so many bases, and I really, really appreciate having her on the show. So hopefully she'll come back, but if not, I really hope that you enjoyed that conversation with her despite all the technical issues. And yeah, oh, there she is. Oh, nope, she's gone again. Okay, never mind. If you would like to get in touch with Patrice, then I will put her contact details in the show notes. Oh, she's back. Patrice, tell us how
this is a way to say that I've spoken enough, basically. The sign saying you've spoken enough. Keep quiet.
Thank you so much for bearing with me with all these technical issues. But
no,
please tell people how they can get in touch with you and talk more about this theme of variety.
Yeah, so I would say I'm on a number of different platforms. LinkedIn, you can get me, just search me, Dr. Patrice Baptiste. I've recently started an Instagram page, and Twitter I've been on for a while, but the handles are Dr. P Baptiste, so you can get me there. And also YouTube, I upload a video every week. We'll see how long that lasts, but it's still going. every week, and I always try and respond to the comments in the comment section below the video. So those are the ways you can contact me. Yeah, and I'll do my best to reply.
Fantastic. Patrice, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening.
Thanks, Angie. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Oh, that was lovely. It was really nice talking to her, and thank you all for bearing with us with all of those issues. Hopefully you found that a stimulating conversation in spite of all the breaks. And yeah, Patrice is just such an amazing person. I massively admire her ability to keep variety in her life, in her career. I mean, the fact that she makes a video a week, she's amazing. So yeah, that was Patrice. So moving on, as I mentioned earlier, I am going to share a message that I got from someone who, it's a little bit different. I usually get messages from people who've read my blog and who watch my videos, but this wasn't a message sent directly to me. This was sent by someone who knows me from my hometown, and they sent it to a person who's close to me, and then that person shared it with me, if that makes sense. And I have been debating whether to share this with you tonight, because it's less than flattering, let's say. But then I thought about the fact that doctors at the moment are receiving so much flack, particularly GPs. And I thought that it might be, a sign of solidarity, really, just showing my solidarity with doctors who are getting a bad rap at the moment, to share the fact that I get negative feedback too. And also there are some really interesting points that come up in this message. So it's an opportunity, I suppose, for me to respond to that criticism. So here it goes. I'm going to read it out. I'm not going to give this person a pseudonym. I'm just going to read it. And I should say as well, this is an abridged version of the message. I've removed some parts of the message to keep it anonymous. There is a good friend of mine from the hospital who said Anjali is doing some videos on social media. She's blaming the NHS and saying how bad the medical profession is and how good she is for leaving medicine. The doctors here watch these videos and give her the nickname, the Mad Ex-Doctor. It's very sad. People change careers, that is their choice, but maybe she has a lot of guilt. Maybe she is regretting her decision. It seems junior doctors are a bit angry with her. She's giving the impression that she is trying to convince others to leave medicine. She says a lot of things that are worrying. She must be struggling with her feelings. It's sad to see her like this and sad to see the junior medics laughing at her. So, wow. Obviously, you guys watching this will have your own opinions on what this person said. I don't think this person has actually watched my videos, as I said, because I don't feel like I pretend I'm somehow superior to other people for having left medicine. I definitely don't think I'm better or worse than anyone else. I'm just doing what's right for me and sharing my story, really. I also don't feel bad about my decision to leave medicine. I did for a long time. That is true. I did feel the guilt. I did feel the depression right after I left. But now, I look back at it as one of the best decisions I ever made. And I don't regret it one bit, really, because it was absolutely the right thing for me personally to do. But apart from that, the criticisms this person has leveled at me are interesting to talk about. So they've accused me of blaming the NHS and talking about how bad the medical profession is. I would say that's true in many ways, right? I mean, if you guys, anyone watching my videos knows that I do criticize many aspects of the medical profession. I talk about the toxicity of the culture, the bullying, the lack of empathy, the lack of common decency often shown to doctors by some employers. I've talked about the infantilization of doctors and how our professional experiences get so narrowed by the system. I challenge bodies like the BMA and the GMC for not putting enough emphasis on doctor welfare. So yeah, I do criticize the profession, but given the fact that I've always had a guest with me for these shows, I'm clearly not alone in wanting to have these conversations. And obviously you guys, my wonderful audience, you want to have these conversations too, because I get messages from you almost on a daily basis now. I have to say, as I said, I know this person. They're from my hometown, and this person is not a doctor themselves. So they have very little idea really of what it's actually like to work in the profession. And that's a really interesting thing, because one of the struggles I hear from medics who reach out to me is this fact that people from outside the profession, aka, family, friends, they have a certain idea of what medicine is like, of what it is to be a doctor. They just don't understand the reality of it and how tough it can sometimes be. So therefore, they just don't understand how anyone would want to leave it. And that can be a really isolating experience for a doctor who's having doubts. So I guess I would say that particular criticism is fair. I would, however, say that I feel like this person thinks I'm making generalized, unsavory comments about doctors as people, and that I somehow have a problem with people who are doctors, which for anyone who actually knows me, that's bizarre and obviously not true. As for this nickname, the Mad Ex-Doctor, I know, I quite like it. If I am that infamous, if I'm infamous enough to have a derogatory nickname, then that means this content is reaching people. It's getting out there. And I'm quite happy for people to think I'm insane if it means that other doctors who are struggling use my resources to then get help. If people are laughing at me, that means they're talking about me. And maybe some of the people they talk to later check out my stuff, my blog, my videos, and maybe they find it helpful. And maybe then they won't progress to that stage of severe burnout and suicidal ideation in the way that I did. So yeah, I think this is probably a case of no publicity is bad publicity, as they say, and that is fine with me. And the last thing I want to respond to is this criticism, which, by the way, I receive a lot. I've received this criticism several times before. This thing of how I'm trying to convince other people to leave medicine. And people say to me, how can you do this? The NHS is already so short-staffed, we're lacking doctors. Pulling more doctors out of the profession is completely unethical. You should be helping them to stay, not to leave. Now, I'm pretty clear on where I stand with this. I don't see myself as convincing doctors to quit. They come to me wanting guidance and support and someone to talk to who won't judge them for feeling like they want to leave medicine. The idea of leaving is still, even now, so taboo, especially in some circles, in some cultures. And for me, a huge part of my role as a coach is to hear those thoughts, to validate those feelings, and to tell people that they're not alone, because I went through that too. And so many other doctors who get in touch with me go through it too. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you stupid or lazy or selfish because you have doubts about your profession. And the second part of this is actually something I haven't talked about publicly much before, but I think it's pertinent here. My brand, the Disillusioned Medic, is clearly a very subversive brand. It largely centers around leaving medicine. I am in a unique position here, given that I don't work clinically at all. I have no supervisors to answer to. I gave up my license to practice, so the GMC can't touch me out here. So I can say what I want. I have the luxury of being able to be brutally honest, and the luxury of being able to be critical of the system. I can be upfront, about the fact that as a coach, my focus, my target audience, if you like, is doctors who want to leave the profession. That is what I focus on. But fascinatingly, quite a large proportion of doctors who come to me for coaching saying that they're considering leaving don't actually end up leaving. I'd say currently in my cohort of coachees, it's about 40 to 50% who stay in medicine. So it's quite a fair number. What actually happens is they continue to practice, but they feel more empowered to do so on their own terms. They develop a different relationship with medicine, with their professional lives as a whole. And quite often they diversify their careers, as I was talking about with Patrice, and they make more space for other pursuits. They make more space for work-life balance. And I'm not saying this to defend my coaching practice, because I don't feel the need to. I don't have anything to be ashamed of. In fact, on the contrary, I'm very proud of what I do. But I think it just gives some insight, hopefully, to you into this dilemma that medics feel, that is it medicine? Is it the actual profession itself that doesn't suit me, or is it the system? Is it other things in my life, like, you know, mental health or other issues in life that are causing me to have this professional dissatisfaction? That can be a dilemma that's really confusing for a lot of people. It's something that I hear a lot. So, you know, that's where this coaching piece helps to figure things out. And quite frankly, if a doctor decides, after all that medicine is not the right career for them and they want to leave, I would argue that there is a moral and ethical argument for helping them to do that. Because as a patient, I would want and expect my doctor to be there because they genuinely love the job, because they want to do it. I wouldn't want a doctor who feels miserable and burnt out and just like they've lost, you know, themselves in the job. They've lost their empathy. They've lost, you know, their reason for even being a doctor, because I don't think it's right to force people to work in professions that just make them miserable, especially if the only reason for doing that is because it's the done thing to do. So I will stop there and get off my soapbox, but I would like to thank this person for making those comments. It was a chance to have a conversation about some really interesting points, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to address some of the criticisms that have come my way in the past before. So thank you. And if you guys have any thoughts, any questions, or any criticisms of your own, don't hesitate to send them to me at dranjalipereira@gmail.com. So that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. As I mentioned last time, season 1 of Real Reflective Practice is coming to an end. We have just one more live stream left in this series, and then my team and I are taking a bit of a break to work on some other exciting projects. So I'll keep you posted on all of those things on social media. So do follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn to hear all our news. Our very last episode will be November 2nd, and I will have the wonderful Dr. Claire McCauley with me. Alongside her clinical work, Claire is an executive coach, a mediator, and an educator, and she will be talking to me about the fascinating theme of fear, which is very timely because we will have just had Halloween. So don't be afraid to join me then. See what I did there? Thanks again for watching, guys. Take care, stay inspired, and I will see you